council meeting. We'll stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hawks, you call the roll, please.
Ms. Barner?
Present.
Ms. Grandillo?
Here.
Mr. Hattridge?
Here.
Mr. Horvath? Mr. Kovach?
Present.
Mr. Cuddly? Ms. McDougal?
Present.
Mr. Vaca?
Present.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Very fine. Is there any reconsideration of the prior actions? Seeing none, we're going to move to the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
The minutes of 6/8/2015. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, we're going to do a roll call.
Mr. Hattridge?
Yes.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Kovach?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
At this time, we're going to have a public hearing for ordinance 2015-084 from the Committee of the Whole, an ordinance approving and adopting the tax budget of the City of Aurora for the calendar year 2016 and declaring an emergency, as the budget must be adopted by July 20th, 2015 in order to comply with the Ohio Revised Code 5705.28. Is there anyone like to comment on this, please? Mr. Mazzaro.
Go back, Members of Council. My name is Jordan Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. I understand this is only an estimate for your 2016 appropriations. However, some of the items in this estimate basically trouble me. I remember when the budget used to go to a finance committee, and the finance committee had people from citizens on it, and then you had people in the audience on it, and these will all be discussed at that point. But I'm going to try to go through here as quickly as possible. I'm looking at Exhibit 1, and it shows charge for services. It went from $172 down to $54,000. And the question, what happened? Are we no longer given the services? Fine, license, and permit. It shows that 283 now is down to 207. And then miscellaneous drops down from 252 down to 202. And of course, if you look at the total revenue, is $15,416,000 compared to $15,089,000 of 2015. Again, on Exhibit 1, General Fund, it shows here that contract services is showing at 215 at 307,000. Now it's down to 160. Can somebody tell me what contracted services are no longer being used? And then on the same page, other use of funds. Shows that in 2015 you're showing 436,000, and then you reduced it down to 135,000. And the reduction is from 2,458,000 down to 2,082,000. And total expenditure went from 15 million down to 14 million. On Exhibit 2, transportation, it shows here street construction and reconstruction is 400,000 in 2015, and then it shows 809,000 in 2016. And total expenditure shows $400 and some thousand more than what it was in 2015. That's all I have at the time, Mr. Covance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I didn't sign up. Joellen Armstrong, 595 Walnut Ridge Trail. I belong to the Portage Community Rights Group. We're a grassroots,
This is only on,
on relative things?
yes, at the
Okay.
end of the meeting, you can
Okay,
come and speak.
thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the public hearing? All right, we'll go on to the mayor's report, please. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Paul, you want to address?
If you'd
some
like
of
me
those
to
questions?
address the thing so we don't have to do it during the reading of the, Mr. Mazzaro always looks at this as budget. This is the budget that we're projecting for next year. The budgeted numbers are taken from the work that we do at the end of every year. So when we have the budget, we project it out for 5 years. Remember, you get a 10-year example. You get the last 3 years, the current year, and then we project it out for 5 years. This is where they take those numbers from. This is no longer someone sitting down saying, well, we've gone from 400, we're going up to 800,000. That was what was in the budget for the road program, whatever that John True had put in, that he was expecting to do this big program here. There is no work done in the budget here. The purpose of this report, as we've always said, is twofold. The first one is to set the real estate tax rate. The real estate tax rate is determined by the combination of the county, the school board, and the city, and their assessments and tax things that have been approved at the ballot. If you remember how your tax rate is built, basically it starts at 10 mills. The state of Ohio has given 10 mills unvoted by the people. That 10 mills is split by agreement between the city, the county, and the school board. Anything above 10 mills has to be voted on by the people. Anything above 10 mills. And everything that's voted on is then builds up your tax base. Our tax base, I think, and I can't recall exactly, is about 102 mills. So you can see there's a lot of mills that went into that. And I can assure you that the city has not added to that in the last 10 years. We've been paying off and paying off and paying off. So we haven't issued any new debt that would contribute. So what they do is once a year they come by and they say, okay, under all of these different levies, how many dollars are to be allocated to you? And they start building up the tax. And because you have new construction going on, the dollar amount per individual tax rate decreases a bit because the base is larger, that you split that dollar amount that they were originally asking for. Like if the school needed an $800,000 operating levy, it's $800,000, and here's the tax rate, it's 1 mil. Well, as you add construction, you add real estate value that the $800,000 is divided on, that 1 mil now becomes 0.98 mils, 0.96 mils, 0.94 mils, and it keeps going down over the life of that bond issue. Okay? So anyway, the county then adds up everything that the city has submitted as to its debt requirements that it needs to make payment on, whatever the school does and whatever the county does. And the combination of all these 3 factors make up the real estate tax rate that the residents will be subjected to next year. A second part of that's derived from this tax budget is what they call estimated resources. And estimated resources is the way that the state, through the county, controls the spending of the cities and the townships and so forth. When we give the county an estimate, and we give them this, they ask us to say, how much cash are you going to have at the end of 2015? That's in this budget. We have to estimate what cash we're going to have today in May at the end of December. So it's what they used to call a WAG, right? It's just a guess. All right? And then on top of that, they ask, well, how much income are you going to generate this year? Again, we don't have all the data in to fairly project what it is. So we take another wild guess. And the combination of these two is what the county comes back and says, okay, City of Aurora, that's the maximum you can spend next year. You can't go any higher than this. And so whatever budget you're going to pass and whatever consideration you're going to give at budget time, this is the maximum you can spend. And those are the 2 functions of this report as a tax budget. It sets the real estate tax rate and it sets the appropriation rate that that council must adhere to and the administration must adhere to also. As to a budgeting factor, we used last year's numbers, so nothing in here has gotten any type of detailed review, estimate, any discussion with people. So if you can pick out any numbers on here that are different than last year, that it's just amazing that you can say, well, this is the way it's going to be, because John Chu may have changed and he's not going to get those that road program that he was anticipating. So you really have to wait until year end. And to try and make this as a budget discussion is totally erroneous and really shouldn't be done.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
First of all, the move of the deed house was delayed due to the wet weather, and it is now expected to go forward on Tuesday, June 30th, but stay tuned. The Parks and Rec Department has been working steadily to finish ball fields and landscaping and paths in anticipation of the baseball tournament this weekend. They have really been working hard. The weather has not always cooperated, and there were some complications that slowed the completion of the new restrooms at the Sunny Lake Fields, but we are also planning alternative measures there as well. I met with Bainbridge Township trustee Jeff Markley recently, and we updated each other on progress and concerns about the Cedar Fair property. The Bainbridge trustees adopted mixed-use legislation for the Bainbridge acreage effective July 8th, so they are making progress, and they are also working on some kind of design standards. As you know, ours are already in place. We are finalizing my summer newsletter and should have it out in the next week or two. Excuse me. Since our last meeting, I've met with residents and ABL representatives and attended the Chamber Golf Outing, chaired an Economic and Entrepreneurial Development Board meeting, and officiated at a wedding at Inn Walden. Let me also just mention, as the chief already alluded to, there was a fairly big operation out at Sunny Lake weekend before this past weekend, and it was a very unfortunate and tragic accident that occurred. I was out there on Sunday with our safety forces and many rescue experts from around Northeast Ohio. It was an absolutely incredible effort, and once again, our Aurora team made me extremely proud. The results were unfortunate, but nevertheless, they were absolutely professional and dedicated in what they did, and I would like to commend them for it. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for the mayor? Ms. Barner?
Yes, thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor. That sounds very exciting about Geauga Lake, that they adopted our mixed-use standards. That's outstanding. Are they in a moratorium right now, or is it now done and they're in a mixed use and they're moving forward like ours? And then my second question, does this mean that Myers is no longer, or if we had know any more information, if Myers is still continuing to go on the Bainbridge side of the property? Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you.
Mr. President, Councilwoman, the first answer to your first question, the moratorium is in place until, I believe, till July 8th, when their new zoning will go into effect. So once the zoning goes into effect, then any applications that are filed will be subject to that new zoning. It is my understanding, and I'm not in the negotiations, but with the trustees, but based upon what I've been told, based on my conversations, is that the Meyer property, the trustees are negotiating with the owners of the property and Meyer. It is also my understanding that there is not a signed deal at this point, but they're having a number of meetings and trying to work towards a resolution. with the intent of Bainbridge parceling off a piece for a big box store such as Myers. I don't know for sure whether that's a done deal or not, but I know that those conversations have been taking place. I think time will tell. The mixed use, be my understanding that that would be separate from that parcel, so the remainder of the land would be subject to the mixed use designation. Hopefully I think that answers your question, your second question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the law director's report.
Mr. President, members of council, I have one item. I'm happy to report the city was successful in fending off an appeal in the Portage County Common Pleas Court, the matter of Marks versus the City of Aurora Board of Zoning. The decision of our Board of Zoning appeals was affirmed, and barring a motion for reconsideration or an appeal to the House Supreme Court, which I think is unlikely, we would consider the matter closed. So I wanted to report that to you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the law director? Okay, President's report. I have one item. Mayor's requesting to amend the agenda by adding ordinance 2015-091. Need a voice vote for that.
So moved.
Second.
That passes, all right. And that's all I have. No, that's all right. Yep. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that passes. All right, come down to citizens' comments on the legislation tonight. Anyone wishing to comment?
Go ahead, member of council. My name is George Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. On 084, I appreciate Mr. Paul's comments on that, but you know what? As council, you're spending over $30 million per year to operate this city. And if you start dividing that by the number of people you have in the city, including the kids, 17,000, it gets to be a very costly operation unless you know the detail and what it's all about. Believe me, I understand the budget as an estimate. I had said that from the beginning. But the thing, when things change going from left to right, okay, or right to left, I always ask the question, and they should have been asked in a work session to talk about it. I appreciate the fact it's an estimate, but you know what? It's an estimate that represents the operation of the city. On 089 and 090, the Villa of Bertram, I've been opposed from this from the day they started. There's more variance on that. I am sure council does not know how many variances have been granted. When we talk about open space, do you read this open space as wetland? You can't use it for anything else. So don't tell me you're giving me something that. And if you remember, some members of the council should remember, this is where the city illegally gave them the property that was ours, that we advertised for sale, and no one bid on it, and they gave it to the, you remember that one? Well, I brought it to your attention, but nothing was done. But I'm still having a problem on that villa. If you look, if you drive 306, and I do that on a regular basis, and the fact is how close they are to 306, and they're a lot closer, and they gave a variance there. It used to be 75 foot. I think it's 35, 40 foot. But really, who cares? I'm not going to live there, but somebody else is. But this place should have been done probably in about 30 less homes or condos, whatever you want to put in there. But I'm just very disgusted with it completely. Thank you.
Anyone else? Move on to councilman remarks. Anyone want to speak on the legislation tonight? Mr. Vaca? Hey, all right. All right, we'll move on to the legislation then. Ordinance 2015-032 from the Committee of the Whole. An ordinance accepting for dedication Shannon Place, which is part of Hawthorne Subdivision, Phase 5C, for recording as a public street in the city of Aurora. We need a motion to postpone that, please.
Second.
Sox?
Mr. Vaca? Yes. Ms. Randall? Yes. Mr. Hattridge?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-84 from the Committee of the Whole, an ordinance approving and adopting the tax budget of the city of Aurora for the calendar year 2016 and declaring an emergency, as the budget must be adopted by July 20th, 2015, in order to comply with Ohio Revised Code 5705.28. This will go on to third reading. Ordinance 2015-088 from the Committee of the Whole, an ordinance granting tax abatement to Charles Vergon and Lauren Broderick for improvements to be made to their residential property located at 28 South Chillicothe Road in accordance with the provisions of the city's Community Reinvestment Area, known CRA2, as adopted by Ordinance 2004-186, amended by Ordinance 2011-088, and declaring an emergency in order for the property owner to begin construction as soon as possible. This will go on to second reading. Ordinance 2015-089 from Planning, an ordinance approving the final plat for Phase 2B of the Villas of Bertram, located in the southwest corner of Treat Road and Chillicothe Road in an R4 zoning district, and declaring an emergency in order to allow the project to begin during the construction season. This will go on to second reading. Ordinance 2015-090 from Planning, an ordinance approving the final plat for Phase 3 of the Villas of Bertram, located in the southwest corner of Treat Road and Chillicothe Road in an R4 zoning district, and declaring an emergency in order to allow the project to begin during the construction season. This will go on to second reading. Ordinance 2015-091 from the Committee of the Whole, an ordinance amending Exhibit A to Aurora Code of Ordinances, Chapter 161, Employees Generally, to reflect changes in compensation for the individuals listed on the attached schedule and/or to place those newly hired individuals listed on the attached schedule on Exhibit A at the compensation specified for them, approving such compensation and declaring an emergency. Administration has asked for suspension.
So, second.
Okay, you have a roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Voice vote?
Aye.
Yeah. Opposed? Yeah. No one.
Moving on.
Second.
You want to call the roll, please?
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Ms. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Hattridge?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Barner?
Yes.
Okay, go down to citizens' comments, general. Greer, I'm sorry.
In the last weeks, you've got incredible current information on Ohio's injection wells. It amazes me that some still think I am talking about production wells, horizontal hydraulic fracturing for natural gas. I am not. I am talking about injection wells of unlimited number, unlimited chemical waste, hundreds of chemicals, casing of cement and steel that lasts at best only a few decades, chemicals that make people sick, and no one but one well owner makes money, and precious aquifers are at risk. Tonight's topic, the last one, is what communities can do about injection wells. Athens, Oberlin, Cincinnati, Mansfield, many others have banned injection wells. There are dozens of other community actions. Today, 3 counties, including Portage, are seeking a 3-year regional moratorium on injection wells. A short pause in the rush to inject seems sensible to almost everyone. Another group in Portage is petitioning to add the right to our county government to put issues like injection wells on a ballot. What an idea, let the people decide. I understand there's a petition circulating regarding this initiative, and by the way, it affects nothing about current government, it just adds the right to vote on some issues. We are at a watershed moment. You are at a watershed moment. I know how hard it is to care when we are all stressed about so much in our lives, but rest assured, production is not in decline. You need to anticipate the need for protection from unlimited Class II disposal wells. It's clear that you are proud of Aurora, your first responders, your land use, your citizens. Let Aurora be the first in Portage to lead and inspire other communities to adopt protections. You can be proactive and not reactive. At the very least, last sentence, at the very least, hire or appoint environmental consultants to at least look at your options. Don't wait until it's too late. I have an 83-page packet. It's too expensive for me to give you all copies this time. So I'm just going to, who do I hand this to? Okay. If you're interested, all the different options are in there and a few extras.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Armstrong?
What a segue. Joellen Armstrong, 595 Walnut Ridge Trail. As I started to tell you at the wrong time, I belong to the Portage Community Rights Group, which is the group that she was referring to, who want to get a charter for Portage County on the ballot to restore rights that we think have been taken away from us in regard to what happens in our county. We're particularly concerned about protecting our water. I'd just like to leave something with you that I saw in the June Atlantic today. It was headed, "Which current behavior will be the most unthinkable 100 years hence?" And Bill McKibben, author and environmental activist, said, "People will be amazed that we went on burning fossil fuels long past the point when renewables were available and working. They won't understand, in dealing with the wreckage of climate change, our need for a slow, measured transition to keep the oil companies happy." I thought it was very appropriate in view of what we're involved in right now. I think, though, that it will be a lot less than 100 years when we're puzzling about this. Thank you.
Mr. Mazzaro?
As members of the council, my name is Jordan Mazzaro, 186 Eldridge. I just want to let you know I got a 3.75 gas price for my home. So far it's about 60 cents less than what you're going to be offered through your contract, and it was a mail that came to me. So watch very closely in the mail when things are regarding your East Ohio gas cost. At the last meeting, the law director spent an awful lot of time trying to offset my comments as far as I'm concerned in reference to fracking. What I'm trying to get across to you as a council, I really care less what they do down there in the legislators, but you should care, because the fact is they control what you do here, and they don't have the authority to do that if you send them a letter down there and tell them what you want. The important part of it is that you as a council approve something that you don't want any fracking going on in this city without your control. That's what you have to tell them. Not one person in this administration or council ever said anything like that and sent down to Columbus, okay? And it needs to be done quickly. Last meeting I asked the price on the deed house, and so far you spent almost $30,000 on that. And I'm trying to find the specifications, who's inspecting the work being done. And so far, there's 3 orders less than $10,000 doing the same work. For 20-some years, I've been here, and it's always been, it's a contract for the product. And this is not happening here. You're violating the trust of the citizens of this community. And if you want to get it back on the ballot, we'll put it back on the ballot so you can't spend anything unless the council approved it well in advance. Years ago, you used to have the budget, okay? And in the budget, you used to show the bidding process, how many things were to go out for bid. You don't do that anymore. Slowly but surely, you're removing yourself from the citizens of this community. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Actually, Mr. Mazzaro, a couple of years ago, I was down in Columbus on fracking, because that concerns my area. So I was down there at a meeting and spoke my piece, but didn't go very far. But Council remarks, anyone? Ms. McDougal?
Thank you. Actually, I had a question for the mayor. I was at the boathouse. It looks really nice, but I was wondering, do we have plans at all to do anything with the flooring of the boathouse?
Ms. McDougald, Mr. President, not that I'm aware of. I don't know if the roof's been finished, but when I was there a week and a half ago, it still needed to be completed. But you will recall, this was going to be a lot more major project and more costly than what we finally agreed to do with council's support. So there are some niceties that aren't going to happen, and I don't believe flooring is part of it. So, thank you.
And then, if I may,
Yes.
just a public service announcement. August 1st in Aurora is Community Service Day. I'm working really hard on this. We have a bunch of people that are going to be fixing up some homes as well as some projects throughout the city, parks and stuff. We will have a booth at July 4th at the festival if anybody has questions about that, if they know somebody who needs help, and or if they would like to participate in that day. Just ask for your prayer for good weather. On August 1st is the actual day, and I would like to thank the mayor for her help on this. The city has donated the use of the Sunny Lake Pavilion for a celebration picnic at the end of the day, and again, thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Barner?
Yes, thank you, President Kobach. I'd also like to acknowledge a couple things this weekend. I know the mayor had mentioned as well as our annual baseball tournament. The ABL will have it. They will be hosting about an estimated 3,100 people that will be coming to our city from all over the place. So please support this tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. The tournament begins July 24th through Sunday. And there's going to be a lot of, June, I'm sorry, thank you, Mayor. I was asked to mention some things because some of the people weren't going to be here, but they wanted me to really, and obviously I have a son who's playing in this as well, but there's going to be over 20 local vendors, and a lot of them are our Aurora businesses, such as the Aurora End, the latest Scoop. There's going to be bouncy houses, a lot of fun for our kiddos and for the community. So please come out and support it, and as well, hopefully we'll have fantastic weather. I'd also like to thank the mayor and her help. I know obviously with our due diligence of trying to get the concession stand and the bathrooms where the restrooms working, truly the ABL appreciates that they have made some alternative measures for them so they could still have the concession stand. Unfortunately, there'll be porta potties, but there'll be something for the people who are there visiting. I did want to mention also Dennis Altman, who's been a fantastic help to the ABL, who has worked very hard with the mayor as well as the ABL to get this up and working for this weekend. So truly, the ABL is extremely grateful for all the help and support, and I encourage you all to come to this fantastic tournament for our boys and girls who play in this. It's a lot of money for our city, and it's good camaraderie, and I know the kids would be really excited for the support. It'd be nice to see Aurora win this tournament as well. That'd be nice. Lastly, I want to mention too to Chief Byard, thank you so much. You not only call the residents when there is concern, as you know, you and I talk on a weekly basis, but I truly appreciate not only you going above and beyond of contacting me, but going out and reaching out to those individuals and making them feel even safer in their own neck of the woods. So thank you for that. And lastly, since we're not going to be here for the 4th of July, I hope we have beautiful weather and great fireworks, and hopefully we'll have a great parade. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hattridge, or I'm sorry, Mr. Vaca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been several months since we approved the budget in regards to the SRO officer in the school. The school's been let out now for about a couple of weeks. I requested back then a report on what these two officers do. I think it's time the report is due also. I don't know what they do. I don't know what their experiences are. I don't know what outcomes are coming out. I figured if we're going to invest 60% into these officers, I want to know what they're doing. So it's about time we get a report, what they've done and what their progress is and what they're going to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hattridge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a call from a constituent wanting to know, if anyone knows the answer, how long will the concession stands be open on the 4th of July?
I'm sorry.
How long will the concession stands remain open on the 4th? Are they like 8 o'clock in the evening, or, I really don't know.
You mean the parade, the ones right here at Kiwanis?
Yes. Yeah.
I think only to the afternoon. They go to.
Which, the ones out here?
Yes, the concession stands that
Okay.
that could be set up at.
Mr.
Foxmore
Hattridge,
Park.
Mr. President, that festival goes till 4 o'clock.
Okay, so the concession stands close after that?
Yes, and I think they
I don't believe they close, some of those stay open.
may stay
Yeah.
open, but the official festival there goes till 4.
Okay.
I note some of them have been there in the past to serve people during the fireworks,
Right.
right before the fireworks.
That's
But
what, I thought that was the case.
the
Mayor.
official hours are something like 11 to 4, I
Right.
believe.
That's what it is.
Okay. And just one other thing, for the life of me, I've been sitting trying to picture the lake. This horrific accident that happened, was it this past weekend, weekend before last? Yeah. Are there no swimming signs posted at Sunny Lake, all the way around the lake?
Mr. Hattridge, Mr. President, there is a set of rules that's posted, I think, at each end of the lake. I mean, it is not a swimmable lake.
No,
I
it's
don't
not.
know that that was the issue here, though.
I don't either, no.
So,
Yeah, I just,
thank you.
That's, to be quite frank with you, the bottom of that lake is mud. And I know I made a mistake trying to fish there one time with waders on, and I was in 3 feet of mud. So it's very, very dangerous, it really is.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Hattridge, Mr. Kovacs, just to follow up, the individual swam out about 200 yards.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I'm going to just end here by saying, hope everyone has a beautiful 4th of July and comes to our festivities. It's a fun day. And we'll have some fantastic judges on the stand judging the floats this year. I hope that the communities will throw some oomph into those floats and come up with some great ideas. And also, I want to say that the delivery of the like the welcome wheel wagon people, when I delivered those bags yesterday, I got kissed by a dog. So there's always a plus to those, and I enjoy doing that. We were going to have a new resident. She was due last night or this morning. I don't know if she had gave birth to a baby girl yet, but I'm delivering a bag right there, you know, and the guy, her husband, is, yeah, we're gonna have a baby anytime. I said, okay. Call me. Anyone else have anything else? Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.